transgender people are not drag queens. You're invalidating their identity. You need to like do your research because that's terrible journalism. You're also saying that. I'm just saying.
We preach about inclusivity in decision-making, in front of the camera and behind the camera, but could it be that Ryan Murphy, from Glee, American Horror Story, American Crime, Feud, has reached the holy trifecta with his new show about the ballroom scene, Pose? Does Pose get it right in telling the story of the birth of the ballroom scene? Joining us is star of Viceland's My House, ballroom queen and queen of our hearts, Tati. Thank you for joining us, too.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, Devin Arell, before we get too deep, and for the unfortunate few who didn't see the show, can you tell us a little bit about what Pose is?
Sure, absolutely. Pose is a show that follows the ballroom scenes in the 1980s. It deep dives into the lives of 5 transgender women of color, mostly Black and Latino. It shows their private lives and like the issues that they had to deal with, like HIV and AIDS, being kicked out of your house because you're gay or trans. Also being a homeless person and not having anyone to rely on, and then finding that home within your house, which is within ballroom culture. So it hits on these different themes, and it does it in a good way by hiring 5 trans actors as the lead. And I'm very excited for this show, if you can't tell already.
Tati, your show is a little bit different in that it's based in reality. So tell us a little bit about My House.
Well, My House is a 10-part docuseries in which it follows me and 5 other ball walkers, and it just gives you a glimpse of our ballroom alter ego as well as our social everyday.
Yeah, and I think that what Ryan Murphy does so well is that he hired people not just in the community to be in front of the camera, which is a great feat, but also behind. So we have producers and writers and directors who are also of the ballroom culture, of the LGBTQ community. And that just is something that I don't think happens very often. Alyssa, ma'am, can we talk about the fashions though? Yeah. Did they get it right in the fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing about ballroom too is that like part of it is this whole character that they're playing, and so even like that first scene where they go into the museum and they take the costumes because they're going to do royalty, and they're just going to go as big as possible. It's just like a really beautiful display of how fashion plays into the ballroom scene.
Yeah. And what categories do you usually walk when you do balls?
I walk a host of categories. Like I walk face,
of course,
I walk fashion.
Look at this face.
And my main category is Femme Queen Performance.
Okay, and can you break down a little bit what the categories mean, especially the ones that you walk?
Face is more celebrating the beauty and the structure of like a face of a model. Realness would be like your everyday someone who can pass. And as far as voguing, it consists of the 5 elements of actually like being on a runway and on the catwalk of a fashion show.
Yeah. We don't really see that much of the voguing in this first episode, I'll say. And Devin, I know you've seen a few, so don't spoil anything. But in your opinion, Tati, do they get it right in the fashion and now in like the voguing or the categories that we've seen so far?
Yeah, I pretty much think they did their research, they did their homework, they included the authentic origins of where voguing actually came from.
Ryan definitely tapped into the culture. So according to Vogue magazine, Murphy and casting director Alexa L. Fogel spent 6 months in the community before emerging with a roster that showcases more trans people both in front and behind the camera than any other project in history of television. Why do you think for such a long time it was safer to hire cisgender actors instead of just hiring trans people? Like, that's something that I never really understood.
I think for a long time it was just like they were just never comfortable with having trans within their space, period. Yeah. So if they would like to, like, for instance, just hire someone that they know they're gonna feel comfortable around, then why not just do that?
Yeah.
But that totally shifts the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why would you not want to do something that's more authentic?
Yeah.
I think like a lot too, the trans community is now able to say like, no, we're here, we're visible, so you need to be hiring us and let us tell our own stories instead of keep hiring these cis people. And with social media and things like that, people are now able to say like, this has to stop and we need to be able to tell the stories.
While I agree with that, I feel like we are still kind of the butt of the joke to most people. And I could just imagine like the violence that certain trans people might experience on sets where most of the people are cisgender, and that, oh, you're not really a woman or you're not really a man. And that's hard to be around too, but like you said, we do have social media where we can push back. But it has taken a very long time. I'm very excited that Ryan has went out into the world to find these people and to hire them and to give people a chance, including India Moore, including MJ Rodriguez, Angelica Ross, Tyra, etc. Like, you're finally seeing Black and Latino trans people on your television sets every week, and you're excited to see it.
I think it's just like a really pivotal moment in the industry right now. Like, we have these images on TV that we didn't have growing up, and now we have these images that can actually push the culture forward and embrace and uplift the community. It's really like a beautiful thing that, you know, it just pushes the culture.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate a little bit, I think that within the LGBTQ community, as an ally, I also see that it's very guarded, right? With due cause, I get it, but I know that there was some pushback from people in the community saying, why is this basically essentially this privileged white man telling our stories, even though he was in the community doing the work? So how can, from within, can we be more, I guess, inclusive?
Well, firstly, I feel like Ryan Murphy actually took the initiative. Like, there was a lot of chances people could have spoke up and brought this treatment to life.
I don't think it's just that. It's also, we have examples of where it was played out in the wrong way. And Paris is Burning is a great example of that.
Yeah.
The fact that the producers and directors of that were mostly all white did not compensate any of the people that they were following in this documentary, and then just profited off of it. And most of the folks that appeared in this documentary, they either just died, like as Venus Extravaganza did in the documentary, or eventually died from HIV and AIDS, and like were not recognized for their work. And thank goodness that Ryan did go out and try to discover what the scene was about, but also hired people that are in the scene. Thank God he did that.
Yeah.
But thank God even more that he's compensating all these people too.
He has a huge responsibility to get it right too, because for a lot of people this is going to be the first time they experience this culture and they don't know anything about it. So you're going to have a lot of young people probably watching this and going, I didn't even know this existed, and they're now going to learn. So like, he has to get it right.
Are we saying that Ryan got it right? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. He pretty much hit it on the nail.
Okay, cool. Guys, before we go, we definitely have to play a game of Your Fave is Problematic. And Devonara, I feel like you have a good one.
So, yesterday as I was perusing the reviews of Pose, because, you know, I wanted to see how everyone felt, I came across NPR's article. It essentially said, discover the drag ball scene through FX's Pose. And immediately I just like lost my breath, because ballroom is not the drag scene. Yes, I understand that drag queens fall under the transgender umbrella, and that's like, I get it. But transgender people are not drag queens. You're invalidating their identity. You need to like do your research, because that's terrible journalism. You're also saying I'm just saying, you're also saying that trans women are really just men, and they are not. Trans women are women, point blank, period. As are trans men. Trans men are also men. And the author of this article and NPR should have just done their homework, and they should revise it as soon as possible. Please.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, on that read, because that was not a note, that was a read. We will see you, right. We will see you next week. Be sure to continue the conversation using the hashtag Team Vogue Take. Like, share, subscribe, watch Viceland's My House and Pose, and we'll see you next week. Bye.